Every traveler has a personal risk profile that's unique to them. There are considerations that you should think about for age, gender, sexual orientation, race and ethnicity, physical disabilities, mental health, and many more. In honor of Pride Month, we will discuss some of the unique challenges for LGBTQ travelers and my top tips to help make your trip safe and secure. Hi, my name is Evan, and I've advised hundreds of travelers on how to stay safe in some of the toughest locations all around the globe. If you enjoy this video, I encourage you to like, subscribe, and check out some of the other videos that we have on the channel at this point. So traveling as a member of the LGBTQ community can present different challenges depending on the country that you're going to, the specific region that you're going to, or even the specific city that you're going to as well. So of the 194 or so countries around the globe, around 65 of them still have criminalization laws for homosexuality. Of those countries that still criminalize homosexuality, 12 of them offer up the possibility of the death penalty as a consequence. Homosexuality, even though that term is pretty well understood and well described, is often used as very much a catch-all phrase to encompass those that may identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, pansexual. In some cases, it could include transgender people, in some cases, even those who identify as intersexual or asexual, and various other expressions of sexuality as well. In terms of transgender related issues, there are 14 countries that outright criminalize transgender people, but this is much more a great part of the criminal code in most locations. In countries that criminalize homosexuality, transgender people may fall under those laws, but that may not always be the case. So it's really important to kind of understand how those two things factor in. If you are homosexual, right, lesbian, gay, or maybe you're bisexual, it's important to just understand how those laws vary compared to people who may be transgender. The recognition of anything beyond biological sex is not usually all that common in many parts of the world. There may be no laws on that subject at all, even. So it becomes a complete gray area where it's kind of up to the discretion of the local authorities. And, it may be that people, consider transgender issues to be illegal in a certain location based on some kind of different part of the criminal code. This is especially true when we're talking about the recognition of a third gender during immigration. So if you're not aware, there are some countries that allow you to identify other than man or woman on your passport for the specific reason of recognition of transgender people. The only problem with that is when you go to a location that doesn't recognize gender beyond just man or woman. So at that point, there could be potential issues when you're going through immigration, trying to understand, what exactly they're looking for, or if, there may be some kind of consideration regarding if you have the correct passport or not. One of the best locations to find information on some of these issues is actually Equaldex, which is a website that includes tons of information from every country around the globe. It talks about things related to the legality of LGBTQ people within various different countries. It talks about if those countries have protections against discrimination for LGBTQ people. And then on top of that, it will also provide some kind of understanding about what the public perception of LGBTQ people is in that specific country as well. So jumping forward, we're going to talk about the top 5 tips I have for LGBTQ travelers. And the number 1 tip I have is really research extensively the country or jurisdiction. So that can include region or city or state or province you're visiting before you go. So understanding the laws and regulations that could affect you as a member of the LGBTQ community is really, really important to understand how to keep safe in that location. You should also check out, any information that you can find about local acceptance by the population of LGBTQ individuals, because that may not actually line up directly. Number two is assess how your physical appearance could affect your safety while traveling. So I just want to preface this with, I don't think people should change their physical appearance unless they feel like they're going to be in some kind of grave danger. And there aren't that many locations around the globe that people may be going to commonly that this would be an issue. But I think it's important just to think about before you go. So in places like in Western Europe, so we're talking like, France, Germany, Spain, the UK, dressing, in a bunch of rainbow colors isn't going to be necessarily an issue for you, whether it be in a legal sense or a public perception sense. But there are some areas that will draw excess attention from locals and authorities and could mean that it becomes an issue for you throughout a potential trip. Number three, if you are traveling with a romantic partner, just ensure that your accommodation meets the standards of those local laws in that country. So if you go to a place that has very strict anti-LGBTQ laws, it may mean that you have to purchase a hotel room that has 2 beds in it. So there's this perception that, you both will be staying in a separate bed. There are some locations where you could potentially even, go further and purchase 2 separate rooms, but I don't think that's necessary in most places. You can just get away with the 2-bed situation. Number 4, in most places, there will always be some kind of nightlife in relation to the LGBTQ community, no matter where you are in the globe, right? So you can always find community somewhere, but I will just say, if you're in a location that has strict anti-LGBTQ laws, it's going to be important to consider that before you go out to a nightclub that may be LGBTQ oriented or a safe place for there or a known place for LGBTQ individuals, because it may be a target by local authorities or by local people as well. And then number 5, we talked about this briefly, but for those who have passports that reflect a gender other than man or woman, note that some countries may not recognize that document for entry. So you just want to make sure that you research that beforehand. And if you need to, and if you're going to go to that destination, you may need to procure another passport, which is a possibility in most locations to have a second passport for those particular issues. Happens, same kind of thing if you're, going to the Middle East, but have also been to Israel, you can get a separate passport, things like that. But it's just important to keep that in mind. The last part, we're just going to talk about a few LGBTQ-friendly travel destinations. So really, this varies pretty greatly. There are a lot of places that could be considered LGBTQ-friendly that are not on this list, but here are just a few I want to call out as potential places that you could go, and they cover several continents as well. So it's not going to be, completely Western Europe-centric. So a few of the best include Spain, Greece, Thailand, Mexico, South Africa, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and parts of the United States as well. Each destination is going to vary, but some of them have very strong protections for LGBTQ people. They may be major hubs of LGBTQ life and culture, but like anywhere in the world, you definitely want to research even those destinations to understand where you're going. Obviously, rural areas could be a little bit more risky, but it's just important to research that beforehand to understand. I could spend multiple videos talking about the various challenges of traveling in some parts of the world as a member of the LGBTQ community, and it's a subject that we could talk about for a long time. As the legal landscape continues to shift, it's important to research before you go. So there are some locations, even in the US, we see this pretty commonly where the legal landscape is shifting, against the LGBTQ community. There are some locations where things are getting better as well. So it's just important to research and understand how it could affect your own personal risk profile. It's also important to recognize that not all people around the globe hold the same views of their government, right? It could be, a government has very heavy-duty anti-LGBTQ laws in place, whereas, there's a large amount of the population that either are completely indifferent or are pro-LGBTQ as well. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a safe Pride Month, and check out some other videos if you want to see more.